good food, as much clean countryside air as you could chuck a stick at, and big, scary bears. That's right, in today's episode of the vlog, I'm talking about North Carolina. That's coming right up after this. Hello everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to today's episode. My name is Shaun, and I'm a YouTuber from Edinburgh in Scotland, but in today's episode I'm talking about North Carolina. It's a state that I recently visited and had such a great time while I was there. There's a whole series on my YouTube channel about that trip. There will be a link down below. And I'm very excited to tell you the 10 reasons why I think it's a great place to visit, and I want to be going back again. That's coming right up, but first of all, I just want to say welcome to everybody. It's great to have you all here, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to hit the big red subscribe button down below. Then you can join the chat and the adventures going forward. Are you part of the 20% club? Only 20% of the people who watch my videos are subscribers. You want to be in that number. Moving on. North Carolina. I was invited to be part of an event in North Carolina, in the Blue Ridge Mountains to be specific, because there is a wee show all about Scotland and Scotland's place in the world as time went on through history, called Outlander, and they end up in North Carolina because Scottish people ended up in North Carolina. Basically, it tells the story of why Scottish people ended up moving to the Americas en masse and colonized it, and settled there and farmed there and built towns and villages and farms there. It's a fascinating show, and that is essentially why I went to be part of this event of people who celebrated Outlander, celebrated the Scottish culture in the Americas, in North Carolina. And I wanted to do today's video to kind of pay homage to the state because I really enjoyed my visit there. And some things about it that I'm pretty sure not everybody knows, and the reasons why they should visit, and I want to talk about that in today's video. So here we go, I've put 10 things, 10 reasons why I think North Carolina is a fascinating place and a good place to visit. My first reason, and I just mentioned it a little minute ago, Outlander. Outlander is a story, like I said, of Scottish people who moved or were kicked out of Scotland and sent to Americas, and a lot of them ended up in North Carolina. Indeed, as I have learned, there are so many people in North Carolina with Scottish names. And we find out about the story of the place where they settled in North Carolina, and you get to see that come to life when you visit North Carolina. I saw the places I saw in the show, the same region, and it just really felt good to be there. To see North Carolina come to life, because in my mind it was a fictional place that I'd only really seen in a TV show before. So that is a great reason to visit North Carolina. Another good reason to visit North Carolina, and another reason I loved it, is because Charlotte, the Queen City, it is a beautiful place. I had no idea, but I spent a full 24 hours in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I had such a really, really great time there. Alright, Charlotte, we're in the city. There's a lot of people around tonight because of the football, but we're going for a few beers. I invited anyone who wants to come. A lot of big buildings here. Not quite like New York, but it's big. A really great environment, great atmosphere, very clean city. I just had a great time. Speaking of being in Charlotte, I had an amazing night out in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm told it is a very good city to go out and enjoy the nightlife. We stayed out until the wee hours in the morning, getting to know the locals and getting to know people who watch my channel who live there in North Carolina. And I just had such a great time drinking and eating and learning about the local state and the local city. If you're in the area, it's definitely worth going for a night out in Charlotte. Another great thing I noticed about North Carolina and why I recommend visiting is the countryside is absolutely beautiful and very diverse as well, because you've got the beach on one side, right? The coast, the Atlantic coast, which has great beautiful beaches, but then you've got these spectacular highland mountains not that far away. And I can tell you from driving from Charlotte into the mountains and all that, the scenery was just absolutely staggering. So a definite plus side about visiting Charlotte, I thought one of the big impressions I had was the countryside. It was beautiful. Speaking of which, the mountains, I need to talk specifically about the mountains in North Carolina, because I was in the Blue Ridge mountain range, right? A wee place called the Leatherwood Mountain Resort. Anyway, it's close to a town called Boone, I believe. Didn't visit Boone, but it's close to there. It was so beautiful, and it reminded me a lot of Scotland. And that, I believe, is why the Highlanders decided to settle in that region, because it reminded them of Scotland as well. I had this great impression of North Carolina being very similar to Scotland, the Highlands, when I was there. The only difference is Scotland's mountains are a little bit more exposed to the wind, and are therefore have less trees and are more jagged. I think the mountains in North Carolina have a lot more forest. Another impression I had of North Carolina for the first time was the incredible, amazing wildlife. I sat on the porch there in the mountains at night time and just listened for hours and hours to the noise of the crickets and the bugs, and it was just absolutely mind-blowing. It's night time here in North Carolina. I am sat on the porch, guys. I am in love with porches here in the United States of America. It was such a blissful place. The wildlife is not anything like what we've got in Scotland, for example. It was very new for me, especially all those noise of the cicadas and the bugs. It was like a cacophony of this amazing kind of jungle sound. I loved it. But then I went walking on my own in the woods and I got terrified because I was thinking to myself, could I get attacked by a bear or a mountain lion? I'm kind of wishing I had some kind of protective weapon on me right now. I don't feel that safe. There's bears here. I hear the rustling in the woods there. It is literally freaking me out. The only weapon, the only thing I've got to protect me here right now, guys, is this camera. I wonder what the Highlanders would have felt here. They would have had muskets, mind you. Got a wee bit worried, I must say. You'll see in my video, if you watch it, you know what I mean. But these are animals we just do not have in Scotland, so it's a bit new for me. But anyway, that's one of the reasons I loved North Carolina, is because the wildlife was just sensational. Another first impression I had in North Carolina was just how connected people are to the history of the British and the Scottish people, how those came and settled and made conflict with each other, made conflict with the native peoples of the land as well. It's just, it's a curious, fascinating history. A lot of it was quite bad and bloody, but it's what happened, right? But it's like, it was very British at the time, before the American Revolution, I guess. It was such a British state because the governor, Tryon, who there's actually a road named after him in Charlotte, he was as British and as loyal to the crown as they come, right? It was certainly a British stronghold, and like that, for me, like to think back to those days, actually Britain had a colony, if you like, in the Americas. Like, it's just a bizarre concept for me. But it's very fascinating to learn about, and a lot of people are passionate about that when you go to North Carolina. Another thing I noticed for the first time being in North Carolina was the hospitality was amazingly, like, just warm, friendly, open, and really, really happy to meet people. And I was just made to feel so welcome on my visit to North Carolina. I was invited into a stranger's home to drink whiskey. Overall, I thought the people were just very friendly and very warm. Southern hospitality, I think they call it. Well, I experienced it and I liked it. North Carolina, one impression I had was, wow, the food is incredible. We had some amazing food in our stay in North Carolina. You remember we had those biscuits in the airport last time? Check these biscuits out. Covered in stuff. I don't even know where to start with this. A diner in Charlotte. So we know what hot dogs is, but what is this? Grits on a biscuit. We got homemade beef stew for lunch, and it is honestly one of the best ones I've ever had in a long time. It's amazing. Wow. With sweet bread. And it's very varied as well, between the barbecue, between the grits, for example, very different. And then the biscuits as well, like these are things we don't really have in the UK, and it was very interesting to try them, and like the food was just great, especially the barbecue. Another impression I had in North Carolina, the last one, and I think probably the most important, and the thing that left the biggest impression on me, was meeting for the first time Cherokee members. And through those meetings I got to learn about their history and the land, and how their interactions with people from different parts of the world once they arrived were. And I was actually told by someone who is a very senior member of the Cherokee community that they favoured Scotsmen, Scottish people. Now I know there would have been conflict between even Scottish people and Cherokee people back in those days, but to hear that from someone who is very, very senior and respected in the Cherokee community, that they favoured Scottish people and they worked together on a lot of things back in those days, I find fascinating and actually quite reassuring in some senses. But certainly to learn about the Cherokee people, who are very, very present still to this day in North Carolina, their way of life, and how they have such respect and such knowledge of the land, I found absolutely fascinating, and they left such a huge impression on me. But it's not just the Cherokee, of course. There are lots and lots of Native American peoples who live in North Carolina, and I just got a taster of that, and I would really, really love to learn more. Anyway guys, I had such a great time in North Carolina. I thought it was a fascinating state, and I want to learn more. There's of course a lot more places in North Carolina that I must travel to, and I very much would like to make that happen. But anyway, until then, until the next adventure, thank you so much for watching. It was great to speak to you, and until the next adventure, hope you have a good night, morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are in the world. Take care.